So the issue of wealth taxes is rearing its head in Britain at the moment, and I just don't think it's going to work. You can find apologia like this online, but at the end of the day, all of the arguments that they make, I mean, they make some interesting points, actually. Apparently, the top 1% contribute a third of all tax income. That's not enough. And so, well, don't we already have wealth taxes? Yes, but it doesn't really give us what we want. So we just want, they're kind of indirect wealth taxes. So we want just direct wealth taxes. And won't they just move abroad? It's like, yeah, they do. This happened in Norway, happened in France, as we'll get to, which they ignore the French example for some reason. Couldn't the rich just voluntarily pay more tax if they'd like to? It's like, yeah, they could, but we want them to not be able to opt out of it. Okay, I mean, fair enough. This doesn't count. It's not going to affect me. I don't own 10 million in assets or anything like that. So I don't really care. I don't have a dog in this fight. But I think that there are just some knock-on effects that you just have to accept, that actually, unless you're going to literally just lock down the borders of your country and prevent these people from leaving, they will just leave. And we know this because France did exactly this in the 1980s up until 2017, when Macron came in and abolished the wealth tax. And we've got, again, this is really, really well documented. So what happened is it led to an exodus of France's richest. More than 12,000 millionaires left France in 2016, according to one research group. And in total, the country experienced a net outflow of more than 60,000 millionaires between 2000 and 2016. Of course, when these people leave, France lost not only the revenue generated from the wealth tax, but all of the others too, including income tax and VAT. And as you'll remember, they're the ones paying 30% of all the taxes. So if they leave, then that goes down, doesn't it? And that has to be made up somewhere else. And the entire economy just starts shrinking when millionaires start taking all of their money out of the country. That's not good, actually. And we've seen this. Wasn't it 10,000 millionaires have left Britain in the last year or two? Like, this is crazy that we are making ourselves an unpleasant place for very rich people to be. Because, like, you might have whatever problems you have with the very rich, but it is overall better to have them in your country than not, because the money they spend is spent in your country on goods and services, rather than spending it elsewhere on goods and services. And so, you know, whether you like it or not, it's just not going to work. And this, again, like they say, it cost France twice as much as it generated in revenue. So this doesn't work, which is why the Labour Party have just said, look, we're not going to bring in a wealth tax. We're just not going to do it because it is something that has been tested and we know it doesn't work. As Swansea MP here points out, such a tax would not raise significant revenues. This is not some brand new idea that has never been tried in the real world. It is not something that we only have speculative economic calculations on. We know precisely what happens when we implement a wealth tax. So instead of just being green-eyed socialists, so it's like, well, look, they have money, and if I can just steal it from them, I can give it to the poor foreigners who we've brought over here to live on benefits. Like, that's not acceptable, right? And that's aside from the fact that it's just bloody immoral. We're like, oh, you worked really hard, earned loads of money, did you? Yeah, we're just going to steal that from you. We're just going to take it. I kind of hate it. But anyway, the reason I bring this up is because the leading light of the Greens at the moment, Deputy Green Party leader Zach Polanski, descendant of immigrants who thinks that we should accept unlimited immigration, has decided that, you know what, the Greens are going to run on a wealth tax. We're going to run on the politics of envy, as in we are green all the way through. We're not just red on the inside here. And I thought we'd just watch this because his arguments are atrocious, absolutely atrocious. And even the women running the BBC are like, yeah, that's bad. That's not going to work. We know wealth taxes don't work. This is just one of those suggestions where it's just a non-starter. Because again, the data is in. We know the consequences. Let's watch this.
Zach, do you have any sympathy for the position that the government is in? I mean, they did take over at a time when the economy had been battered because of Ukraine and because of COVID. Public services have had a hard time for a long time. When you look at what they're doing and the sort of straitjacket they're in, do you have any sympathy for them?
No, I don't think it's easy, but I think it's very simple. We actually need to tax wealth and not work. And you asked Angela Rayner several times at that beginning of the interview, will you tax wealthy people more? And she gave you some very small measures that are tinkering at the edges. Actually, if we put a wealth tax on assets of 1%, we could be raising billions of pounds.
Then leave?
So I love the instant, will they leave? Yes, they will. I mean, I kind of hate property taxes generally, actually, the more I think about it. Here is a thing that I own. And the government right, because you own that thing, you need to give us some money. It's like, why? Because you own something. Therefore, you need to give us money. It's like, but doesn't that imply that I'm renting it from the government? What happens if I don't give you money? Well, we'll take it away from you. Then I'm definitely just renting it from the government. I'm sorry. Is mine or not? Is it mine or is it someone else's? And if it is mine, why do I have to pay the tax on it? Why do I just have to pay rent on this thing? And if it's not mine, then stop asking me for money. Right? Why is it I paid for the thing? What happened to that money? Why is it that when I pay for something, someone else gains possession of it from me? Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I just hate wealth taxes. Like, tax my earnings, which I hate, but at least I can see the rational reason for it. Maybe even put a tax on goods, which I hate, but at least that's down to me, right? I get to choose, do I want that good really? I'm going to have to pay the tax on it. Okay, I'm going to buy it and just suck it up, right? But just, oh, you own something, hand over some money. Fuck off. I hate it. It's like inheritance tax, right? I'm not going to stand to inherit anything, but I just hate the concept of an inheritance tax. Like, oh, someone passed something down to you after you died, yeah. And they'd pay tax on all of the money that they earned to buy that thing. And then they pay property taxes on that fucking thing. And now they've died. Ka-ching! I hate it so much. I would get rid of all the welfare state in the world if it meant not having to pay bloody taxes, I'll tell you that.
So you earn less money because all the wealthy leave.
Well, so it's actually a myth. There's a group called the Patriotic Millionaires, who are a group of wealthy individuals who are saying taxes more, because actually no matter...
Okay, right. Let's stop there, right? So the Patriotic Millionaires are, as they say, a non-partisan network of British millionaires from various industries and backgrounds. Right, so that's not all millionaires, right? So who are they? Well, Gary Stevenson and Gemma McGough. Gary Stevenson is a communist ex-trader, right? Gemma McGough spends her time retweeting Jeremy Corbyn. Don't fucking lie to me and say, oh, we're non-partisan, bro. We're non-partisan, right? This doesn't encompass even most of the millionaires in the country, right? Most of the millionaires in the country are not part of this communist group. And therefore saying, well, I mean, it's not true that millionaires will leave. No, it is. 10,000 of them left last year. What stops 10,000 of them leaving this year? What stops tens and tens of thousands, like with France, to the point where the income revenue to the Treasury off normal taxes that they would have paid, which is, remember, a third of the tax revenue, that is just a loss. And France, again, have been through all of this. They have calculated this. This is not a mystery, right? This is not some mythical, fictional fantasy that we don't know what the result is, saying there is a small group of millionaires who want to pay more. Well, you know what? I bet the Treasury would accept donations. Right? I bet if you were like, look, can I just overpay on my tax, please? What? Overpaying your tax? It's like, yeah, I'm one of the half dozen patriotic millionaires in this country, and I would really just like to donate more. And I guess they'd be like, well, I mean, that was always an option. You can always overpay your taxes. There's nothing we can do to stop that. And if you don't want to claim it back, you don't have to. So you could just overpay your taxes if you want. But for some reason, the patriotic millionaires don't do that. What they do is hide behind the guise of patriotism and for some reason repeatedly say socialism. So it's like, okay, weird. But I mean, whatever, each for their own. But the point being, the existence of this group doesn't mean that millionaires won't leave in droves, literally tens of thousands of them, because they will. He can lie through his teeth all he wants, but they absolutely will leave. They do leave, and this will leave Britain a more impoverished country. Do we want to be a more impoverished country? Because we vindictively targeted the successful and wealthy to try and make sure that the Somalians living on welfare continue to be able to live on welfare? And the answer is no, actually. No, we shouldn't be doing that at all. That's crazy. But anyway, I'm not running for the leader of the Green Party. Carry on, Zach.
To how rich you are, we all benefit from a more equal society.
There's quite a lot of...
In what way? How do I benefit? I mean, let's go over it again.
Taxes more, because actually, no matter how rich you are, we all benefit from a more equal society.
How? How do I benefit if some of my money is taken away from me and given to the guy next door? How do I benefit from that? It's like, well, I mean, he gets a second car. What? What? I don't care. Like, equality isn't a benefit. If anything, it looks like a curse, especially when it's applied economically. How about instead of this, everyone else gets a fucking job, okay? I work all the God-given hours of the day, all day, up until the evening when I'm recording this, and I want to be able to keep as much of the money as I personally earn as possible. I mean, the reason that I have to do extra videos during the week and in the evenings is because Keir Starmer raised the levy on private schools, right? That's what I do with my money. I don't earn a huge amount of money, but I do okay. And I send my kids to a fairly mediocre, not mediocre, but like a fairly affordable private school. You know, it cost me a couple of grand a term and stuff, but then that's gone up by like $1,000 because Keir Starmer decided, 20% more. Right, okay, yeah, screw you. Actually, I'm taking that money. You can afford that. So now I have to do extra work to make sure that my kids can continue going to the schools that they've been going to for their entire educational lives. So, okay, fine. That's fine. I'm prepared to do more work. I would rather if I didn't, and I would rather if that money wasn't being stolen and then given to just someone else. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to pay for Ahmed's NHS appointment or whatever, but yeah, I'm going to. And Zach's just like, yeah, but the more equal society benefits us all. No, I'm not feeling the benefits, Zach. What I'm feeling is oppressed by my own government. And I mean, thankfully, the Green Party are never going to get in. But I just want to showcase the arguments they're making because they're paper thin and absolutely rubbish.
There's quite a lot of evidence, though, that many very wealthy people have left the country. If you talk to anyone in the city, that's what they would tell you. And people who put forward suggestions of wealth taxes, when those things have been brought in before, they often don't deliver anything like what you might hope.
Well, I'd refute that evidence, but I'd say more fundamentally, if people don't want to spend money in tax to our public services, then are they really contributing to our country?
Brilliant. I'd refute that. Go on, then. Crickets. He doesn't refute it. He just says, I'd refute that, as in, I would rebuke it. I reject it. I don't care if the evidence is 10,000 millionaires leave a year. I don't care if in total, so for example, in the case of France, 80 or 60,000 millionaires left the country with all of the tax revenues that they take with them by not paying taxes in France. And I don't care that actually, by, what was the margin again? Sorry, by twice as much revenue lost as it generated because of that, right? Zach doesn't care. He doesn't have a counter argument. It doesn't matter. This is a point of faith because he is a communist. And to get to the point where he's like, so I would ask, do these people even contribute? Well, yeah, apparently the top 1% are paying a third of all income. So any amount of tax that they pay is disproportionate per person. And if 10,000 of them leave, that's probably a really significant chunk of tax that's being lost. So even if they're not paying your extra wealth tax, they are still contributing to society. And that's only talking about the tax that they're paying, right? What if they run businesses, right? The businesses that they run, let's say they sell their businesses off. So the businesses themselves, aren't they contributing to society? The jobs they're creating with those businesses, aren't they contributing to society? The properties, the money they spend just on anything, really. Like, because I imagine if you're a multi-millionaire, you probably spend a lot more money than the average person. So spending those on goods and services, I'm pretty sure that's contributing to the country too. So losing all of that because you're an idiot seems like a really bad idea, and I don't think we should do it. And even Laura Kussenberg, who I personally would consider to be a communist as well, would be like, no, that's not going to work. The facts are against you on this. And Zach's only response is, I don't care about the facts. I'm here to talk about my idealism. Anyway, he doesn't have much else to say on this subject. He then pivots to Gaza, which I'm like, vaguely interested in talking about, but you can guess exactly what his position on Gaza is. And so it's just remarkable how here we are hashing up this kind of subject once again, and for some reason on the BBC, running for one of the significant parties in the UK, we have socialist lunatics to whom reality has no impact at all on any of the judgments they make.